We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
So let's get the sound going. There we go. You got to unmute on your end, Madison. There we go. Testing. Can you guys hear? Can you hear us? If you can hear us, just let us know. But we're engaging in this conversation. It's all about you. Ask your question, and we are here to answer it. There we go.
Okay.
All right. We're back. So this is the team. We're at the Last Chance Weekend. It starts today. On the other side of this camera, you can't see it, but all the tables and chairs and the displays for the weekend are here so that we can get to work. So we want you to pray for those couples, give good energy, because transformation is going to take place here. All right, questions. What are your questions? Now, while we wait for their questions, because I know how you are, you wait 20 minutes in, and then you're mad because you didn't get your question answered.
Come on now.
So we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and on the other side of this, if we don't see any questions, we're going to just end the show. Be right back. All right, guys, we're back. Hopefully you can hear us. If you cannot hear us, let us know. But we're going to dive right into the first question that we have coming up. My wife cheated on me. She still blames me for that. And now we're just roommates. What do I do? What say you guys?
Wow.
Really, guys?
Well,
Do we need
you know
coffee?
what? Here's the thing. I think it's interesting how we like to blame others for the decisions that we make. I think the first step in growth is being able to acknowledge your own weaknesses and taking ownership of the decisions that you made. But from that question, I can tell there are a lot of issues. Somebody who can cheat on you and then turn around and blame you, and now you've moved on and you're still being blamed. My question is, have you gone to any counseling? Have you had anybody help you with where you're at and kind of put you in the right direction?
My question would be, based on the comment that you said, now we are just roommates. Were you roommates before?
Right.
So think about the fact that there's always something that's leading up, right, to infidelity. We're always able to identify areas of opportunity prior to infidelity occurring. So my question would be, have you guys thought about what was going on prior to the infidelity? It's still inappropriate for your spouse to be blaming you for their behavior. They definitely have to take accountability and responsibility for what it is that they have done. But the wonderful thing about Last Chance Weekend and coming here is that both couples have an opportunity to put a mirror in front of both of their faces, so that they're able to identify what they both need to bring to the relationship. So
awesome. We have another question that I want to get to. How do I learn to trust my husband again?
Well, trust is a process. It's not a thing that just happens. Like I always talk about the 4 steps into that. So we go from belief to faith, then trust, and then some kind of certainty or knowledge. You have to create a list of things that you want to be able to believe again and give them the opportunity to accomplish those tasks. Through them practicing that over and over, you'll begin to start having a little faith. And then once it's happened over and over and over again, you'll start being able to trust again. So I would start with belief. Find the thing that you want to believe, that you need to believe in order to have that solid relationship. Write that list down. Communicate that with your husband. And if you have a hard time doing that, that's what Last Chance Weekend is for. That's what what Couples Academy is all about.
Now, I just got an anonymous question that piggybacks on that question that you all can weigh in. It says, how do I move past this and begin to trust when he's going back to his old ways of thinking, i.e. date nights are not even a thing, they're a thing of the past. Asking to spend time turns into an argument about needing money. It's hard when it seems like he finds the smallest reasons to leave the house on a daily.
Well, Just said something that I think is really profound, in that trust is lost in buckets and is regained in drops. And so the question that I would have is, have boundaries been established? It sounds like a conversation needs to be had in regards to what the expectations are as it relates to a plan in order to reestablish that trust.
Awesome. Another question comes in from Sandy. How do you forgive when there's no empathy and understanding on what he did to our marriage and the trauma?
Sandy, forgiveness is not a gift you're giving him. It's a gift you're giving you.
Absolutely.
And so you have to get beyond this for you to be able to move on with your life first. The fact that you're forgiving is a blessing to him. But the fact that you're really forgiving is allowing you to move on in your own life. You can set your boundaries and establish your standards and set a practice to regain trust again. But at the same time, you've got to forgive, because you're not being drugged down by the weight of something someone else did to you. Stop being a victim.
And I would add to that, there is some accountability that has to take place within the marriage, right? Because here you are married to somebody who's showing you no empathy. At some point, we have to set those boundaries. At some point, we have to make decisions if this is going to move forward or if this is going to stay exactly where we are. Unfortunately, hindsight is 20/20, and we're looking at things from back then, and we're saying, I wish I knew what I know now. And so you have to get yourself strong. You have to work on that forgiveness, which is hard to do when you're in a relationship with somebody who shows no empathy, who has narcissistic tendencies, not necessarily isn't narcissistic, but has these tendencies and doesn't feel your pain. So work on you, getting stronger, right? So that you now can make a decision for yourself, put boundaries in place, and decide which way you want to go with this relationship.
Excellent point. Last point, this is a phenomenal book, How Can I Forgive? By Janice Abrams Springs. And she talks about the 4 types of forgiveness. She talks about cheat forgiveness, unforgiveness, like the refusal to forgive, acceptance, and then genuine forgiveness. So acceptance is the type of forgiveness that you need to embrace when you're not working with a willing participant in the process. So regardless of what your spouse is doing, you still have work to do, and it walks you through how to do that. So get that book because it's phenomenal. Here's another question from Samuel. What if she doesn't recover from the hurt?
after the infidelity?
Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't like dealing with what ifs. I'm not going to give you a hypothetical scenario because we believe that she can heal from the hurt. All of us have the possibility of doing it, but it requires us doing something. We say this all the time. It will work if you work it, right? And so what we've discovered is that oftentimes in the recovery process, we're running this race at different paces, right? One is running faster than the other. Some have slowed down, some have stopped, some have backed up. But sometimes we talked about the seasons, how one could be in the spring season, the other's in the winter season. We're not in the same season relationally because we have our own individual season. So what we need to do is find the source of her motivation.
Yes.
What is it that brings her life? What is it that can change the trajectory? And when you've done all that you can do, pray. Because the scripture says, you plant the seed, God, other people water, God brings the increase.
Yeah.
So if you've done all you can do, now you need to rely on spiritual intervention for God to raise other people up to speak to them.
And I would say, just reiterating your question, what if she doesn't heal, right? Because some people choose not to heal. Some people decide that there are more benefits to being hurt and staying stuck in pain than there are in healing and moving forward. And so, to Hassani's point, you have to actually take responsibility for where you're at and be a light and a guide, because sometimes all it takes is for you to change and become somebody different, and then it piques their interest, and then they want to change. I think you have to help them see the benefits in healing, and that they're better than the benefits of staying hurt.
And one more thing too, is the what if question insinuates that there's fear. And so we cannot accomplish anything mentally if our motivation is the fear of them not receiving what it is, or them not healing, whatever the case may be. You have that doubt planted. So everything starts with a made up mind that you're going to do everything in your power to try to help your partner recover from the hurt. But additionally, they have to make up their minds that they're going to do whatever it takes for them to heal from the infidelity or the betrayal.
Listen, guys, you're watching the Couples Academy show. We're going to a quick break. We'll pick up with Jeff's point. Be right back. Stay right there. All right, guys, we're back watching. Thank you for watching the Couples Academy show. We do this every single day, but Friday we dedicate to Q&A, to answering your questions. So we're going to go right back into this conversation. Dominique says, how do you handle a partner who continues to lie about the details of the affair? He said he didn't think the details mattered and admitted to having an issue with lying, and he lied for almost a year. I am in rage.
This is a normal, definitely situation of avoidance, and it seems like your partner, the lying is definitely providing some time and space for him not to really have to deal with the situation. So communication is key, and I would definitely ask what environment, what platform are you guys using to kind of sit down and have the conversation? But it's really important to tell your partner that They need to trust that you can handle the truth. And so that statement and going to your partner to say, look, this is valuable to me. I need to know the truth. I can handle the truth, and really putting it back on them, because a lot of times it's fear of the consequence. And so you have to be clear too in going in a conversation, a courageous conversation like this one, to use that. I know you feel, rage is the word that you use, but definitely take the time to write down your thoughts so emotions don't come into play, to really communicate to your partner that you need the truth. It is an expectation, and that's what you expect to be able to move forward in the relationship.
And I would add that, I think the admission is a big deal. People really fight for admission. They want to be acknowledged. And so the fact that he admitted that he is a liar is a great place to start. That's the first step. So if you have that from him, then maybe you can actually get him into some therapy to work on the issue so that you can move forward. If he wasn't willing to admit it and you knew he was lying, that would be a bigger issue than the fact that he's coming to you and saying, hey, I lied all this time and this is my issue.
Foundationally, lying is what we're taught to do. When our parents go, did you do this? Where did you hide this? From childhood, we're taught to lie to avoid the problem. And so that is the fundamental source. The fact that he's aware that he's a liar is great. Now, how do I stop lying so that I can start living the truth instead of living a lie? It's one of the reasons why Hassani and I put together Foundry. So I would encourage you strongly to get him in touch with us.
So I don't know if this applies to you specifically, but we do know that there are other couples out there who have this issue as well, where one spouse is not forthcoming and being direct with the truth. But you said I'm enraged, and I know that there are other partners out there too that feel that way, that they are enraged as well. And so I've been saying lately, like, are you coming in hot when you're talking to your partner? Like, are you coming in hot? What do I mean by that? Well, you're aggressive, you're angry, you're emotional, and you haven't taken the time to organize your thoughts, and they may feel attacked. Now, lying is wrong. So let me just lay that foundation. They should not be lying. They should be telling you the truth. But sometimes spouses won't come forward with the truth because, as you said, they are afraid of the consequences. So you can't come in hot every time you need to have one of these type conversations. So we have to be mindful of how we're communicating to our spouses to make sure that they are not on the defense and they're open to receive what it is that we have to say.
Danielle, here's another great question. He had an affair with his best friend of 20 years, the wife. We're in counseling. Our children were best friends. We were neighbors. It's a double betrayal.
That's a statement, not a question. But what I can say is that therapy is an absolute must. The friendship needs to cease in all aspects. It's a tough situation because there are children involved. And this is what we don't think about when we make these horrible decisions for our lives. We don't think about the ramifications and how this is going to affect your entire community. It sounds like this is your community. I would get into some stronger therapy. It says you're already in counseling. I wasn't sure if that was during the betrayal or currently. But if you're in counseling and it's not working for you, get into some better counseling and keep doing it.
There it is. I want Walter and Jeff to weigh in on this. What advice would you give to a struggling couple that needs to have a serious conversation about accountability and responsibility?
Absolutely. That's a question for me that goes back to your core values and principles as a couple. And if you do not have any, then that's something that needs to be discussed and established. And then you definitely need a third party, someone to help you all to navigate how those are merged together so that it is a collective it's a collective set for the both of you all so that you can hold one another accountable. It sounds like the way this question is framed, are those things, do you even have the framework to have accountability and responsibility, and where there are no boundaries, where there are no principles, where there are no core values, there can't be an accountability or responsibility.
I think at the end of the day, you need to find someone who has already established that in their lives that you trust, because they can actually show it to you. See, a lot of us are struggling in the mire of going through experiences that we did not understand. We got ourselves there because we had no foundation to rely on as to know what was right. If you're struggling with accountability and responsibility and you've gone wayward from a foundation, that's one thing, because it's easy to go back and become the prodigal. But if you grew up around chaos and all you've ever lived is chaos, seen is chaos, and everyone's fending for themselves and kind of the survival mentality, then it's almost impossible to have that without someone coming in and showing and introducing to you what accountability looks like. And also, you need to see the positive benefits on the other side of that. And so if you can get that example in front of you, then you're going to have a really good shot at achieving that. You'll never become a good basketball player if you don't find someone who plays basketball well to teach you it. You'll never become a good husband if you don't have someone who's a good husband to show you how to do that. You're going to need an example, something to follow, a system and a framework that allows you to know when you need to course correct.
Excellent answers, gentlemen. Lakeisha, this is from Brandon. My marriage has gotten a lot better over the last 6 months. What's the best way to avoid triggers to avoid the bad past?
So, great question. Heard it many times before, and I hear the word avoid twice. We are all products of our environment. We are all the people who we are today because of our past experiences. So trying to avoid the past is something you can't get away with. It's something that follows you, that stays with you. Now, we don't want to sit in the same mentality or mindset or feelings or actions or behaviors of the past that were inappropriate, but we can't avoid triggers. They pop up, whatever I call them porno pop-ups. They pop up at any time. You ride in the car, you mind your business, listen to your favorite tune, and all of a sudden you have a trigger. So you can't necessarily avoid having a trigger, but what you can do is control what happens when it does come up.
Yes.
How are you responding to the trigger? Identifying what's causing your triggers. What's the precursor? Is it a song that might trigger you? So maybe you need to start listening to some positive podcasts on the radio instead of listening to certain radio stations if certain songs are going to trigger you. If it's certain conversations and you are able to identify that, you can put a plan in place prior to having that conversation. So I think it's really important to identify, one, what is triggering you, what's causing the triggers, and then you can deal with each one individually. So you're never going to be able to get away, unfortunately, from them coming up. But the more you learn how to manage them and deal with them and respond to them appropriately, they will begin to dissipate. So you just have to, it's a muscle. You got to work it.
Guys, you're watching the Couples Academy Show. We'll be right back. One more break. Stay right there. All right, guys, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy Show. We're going to dive right in. Cassandra says, not a question, but update. We took the Trigger Masterclass. Long story short, sat in a place for about 7 minutes. It was hard, but did it. I arrived past the same place and said, you don't control me. It felt great. Progress in work. I listened to 2 songs in the AM. It's Gonna Be Nice by Yolanda Adams, and Don't Stop by Fleetwood Mac to get my day started in prayer, changing the environment. You can do it, guys. Keep working.
Keep working.
And I actually was going to chime in as far as what Keisha was saying with the Couples Academy. We do such a great job as far as with helping to address how the strategies and skills in order to address your triggers. That avoidance issue is going to be something that's going to continue to cause problems. And so with the Triggers Workshop, with Last Chance Weekend, with the sessions, with the couple sessions and one-on-ones, those things are so instrumental in providing the skills and the strategies that you need in order to be able to deal with those challenges. That's a really great report. Glad to hear that.
Let me go here. I'm going to just read this. I'm not going to click on it. It says the ex-girlfriend, 37, 6 years older than the daughter, and I, 47, broke up on December 23rd after infidelity on both sides, saw her kissing the other boyfriend. She filed for a temporary restraining order. Judge dismissed 1/3 because saw no basis, saw revenge on her part. She keeps following me on IG. We IG story about the relationship there, but we haven't spoken since December 23rd. We deeply love each other, so confused to reach out in a final letter to say, let's talk to clear. Okay, so what do you have a question? Come back with your question.
Yeah.
Because I read your description, but I need to know what you want to know. Thank you. Other than praying, how do you move past the fear?
Let me jump on this. First
Okay.
of all, I know you. Hey, Kat. Good morning. How are you? We have talked about this multiple times. Your fear is here. This is where it is. And what you're going to have to do, sis, is look up. We've talked about this multiple times. You have a history, okay? And so now anything that resembles that history triggers you and makes you feel as if this is what's presently going on. You're pulling the past into the present. We can't do that. We can't allow our past to control our present and dictate our future. You have to make a decision that you're going to either choose to trust or you're not. And you have to move forward in fear, because the reality is you can't predict the future. You don't know what's going to happen. The only thing you can control is right now. So you made a commitment to stay. You made a commitment to work on your marriage. And that's exactly what you have to do every single day. And when you feel that fear, move forward anyway, unless he's showing you signs of something that makes you feel like I need to take a pause. You have to move forward in fear. And when it does set in and you've done all that you can do, as Hassani said, pray.
Let me just add to this. You have to live abandon. That's just what is required to heal. You have to live with a sense of abandon. Listen, prayer is excellent. I pray all day, every day, but prayer isn't going to move you in any direction. You could pray all day on your knees and stay on your knees all day long. And what have you done? You have to get up and live with this sense of abandon. You have to, in order for you to heal from your hurts, you have to be open and vulnerable to actually be hurt again. That's what it takes, some sense of vulnerability and being willing to walk towards the thing that you're afraid of.
Charmaine, this is for you. I think this is follow-up to the question. He said he's lying to protect me because he's always caused so much pain. I just don't get that. Lying to protect.
Well, and that's a normal response, that for the betrayer to say, well, I don't want to continue to hurt. But it has to be very clear from your mouth to his ears that, you know, the consistency in lying is not protecting me from the pain. If anything, it's causing it over and over again. And so just really being clear that it's not serving him and it's not serving you. And so if anything, it's continuing to allow you guys to be stuck. So to be able to move forward, it really is one of those things where he definitely needs some support and some work to really address why he's lying. Because if you're continuing to tell him that, one, it's not serving me, lying is hurting me, it's causing further pain. No, it's selfish. It is on him, and it's definitely a muscle, and it's a skill that he's learned, and it really needs to be addressed.
I just want to address the I don't get that part, because I want you to be able to understand why this happens. Parents will often lie about their financial situation to their kids at Christmas and different things because they want to protect them from the financial hardship that they're in. This is a pretty common thing for people to do, hide from introducing the pain into the situation any deeper. What he's got to realize is different is the pain has already been done. The game is up, the gig is up, it's already out in the open, and coming clean is the only way to heal the wound. Because you can only hide the fact that there's no Santa Claus for so long. You can only hide these kinds of things from someone who's grown into the knowledge of something for only so long. And that's what he's got to learn.
Santa Claus isn't real?
No.
Wait a minute now. Wait. I'm 40. Wait a minute. Santa Claus is not real.
I'm Santa Claus.
Surprise. Walter, this is for you. How do I get my wife to stop screaming and yelling at me?
Ooh.
What are some coping mechanisms or skills to dealing with this problem?
So one of the questions, Daniel, that I would ask you is, how are you responding? Because oftentimes to elicit a certain response from an individual, you have to model that response. So, and it's a technique that's oftentimes used in the business world as well in training, where if an individual is emotional and they're coming in, then you calm your voice and you speak very calmly. and you have to continue that. And eventually what will happen is that their tone, that will eventually match yours. Now, again, that's harder because you're going to have to train yourself and you have to remain resilient in order to do that. But then also too, with some of the issues that she's addressing with you, finding a way to readdress those issues during a time when it's not contentious, where it's not necessarily the topic of discussion, but finding the right atmosphere, finding the right time in order to have those discussions so that can be done in a productive way.
Wow, love it. All right, so Danielle, how do you deal with what I call silent influences, single or divorced lifelong friends or family, possibly giving the spouse marriage advice?
Oh, gosh. Wow, I don't know why you dropped that question on me. Listen, it's difficult because some of these people have been in your life a long time. This is a reason why many couples are split and divided, because they won't let go of toxic relationships that are pulling their relationship down. This does include family member, blood family member, friends as well. And so you have to, together as a couple, decide who is welcome in your sphere of influence and who is not. And if those people are pulling you down, or not adding to your relationship, or dividing your relationship, those are the people that don't belong. Or you have to set boundaries in place to keep them at a safe distance, right? So your mother-in-law, for example, who maybe it's not a healthy situation, she isn't going anywhere. This is your mother-in-law, right? So what you do is you set a healthy distance, you set boundaries, you set rules, and it should be the spouse of that mother who sets that boundary in place. So there's lots of things that you can do. I think at the end of the day, it's about being on the same page regarding what you need to do.
Excellent answer. We got a couple more we're going to hit. This is for you, Lakeisha. Are you saying forgive a cheating spouse even if they aren't doing anything to aid in the process? And followed up with, I can forgive the old stuff, but the behavior and conditions are present for it to happen again. I can't be a victim again.
Yes, that's exactly what we're saying. Yes, because forgiveness does not mean that we move forward together. Forgiveness means that I am releasing you, and I am giving myself the freedom to let go of the weight that unforgiveness has on us. So absolutely, again, the forgiveness at the end of the day really is not for them. It is for yourself. So yes, I want you to get free. So yes, you need to forgive them. Now, that does not mean we stay together. Ultimately, at Couples Academy, as long as somebody is not abusing you, we are fighting for your marriage. We're encouraging you guys to stay together, but that's not always the case. It doesn't always end up that way. So just because you forgive, it does not mean that, again, we're going to stay together and move forward in the marriage.
There it is. This is the final question, guys. Last question before we end the show. My husband said that he's told me everything, meaning the details about the affair, but I feel that there's more. I want to believe him, but I can't help. Well, what I would say is reach out to us. Let us help you. That is what we do. Oftentimes there's the trickled truth. There's bits of information we give little by little by little, and it's actually more painful. And to the question that Charmaine was answering earlier, people lie to protect, people lie to avoid, people lie to avoid the consequences of telling the truth. People lie because they're trapped in between guilt and shame. People lie because they're just compulsive liars. But the reality is you can't do this on your own. Otherwise, you'll remain trapped in what we call the discovery phase. We want to bring you into full disclosure. And that's when these practitioners are involved in the conversation so all the details can come out. And that's one of the things that we do here at the Last Chance Weekend that is critically effective and important. So guys, we appreciate you. We love you. We thank you for tuning in. Have a great weekend. Keep your prayers up as we explore the lives of these couples and bring them to a place of transformation and restoration. See you on Monday for another great episode. Take care.